best-selling author Betty Eadie and her riveting account.
Our purpose for being here on this earth is to learn to love.
Embraced by the Light, today.
Betty Eadie, author of the best-selling book, Embraced by the Light.
Betty, you said that when your spirit left your body, you could look down and see your body. What did your spirit look like?
My spirit, I'm kind of going to be embarrassed to tell you this, because before I had my experience, you know, everyone, you look at yourself in a flat image, you see a flat image in the mirror, and I always felt I was unattractive. And so when right after I died and I came down to look at my body, I could see myself in a three-dimensional view or more, and I thought, my gosh, you know, I wasn't so bad looking after all. And but when I saw myself for the first time in the spirit, the loving part of me, the spiritual part, when you crawl out of your flesh, what is left is the love that you have. And at first, when I died, I was only 7 watts. And then, as I was in the love of Christ, I expanded in his love, and then I became a beautiful being of light.
So in very real terms,
So
or
it
in
was yeah.
therapist terms, you had a change in your self-esteem as a result of this experience?
Not just self-esteem, because that is definitely a part of it. It wasn't just self-esteem, but I lost my judgmental attitude.
Changed your whole way of living your life.
It changed my whole religious belief system as well.
What is your mission? What were you told your mission
I don't
was?
know. We all have missions. We're all not to know what they are, because I was told that if I knew what my mission was, I would hurry up, rush out, and complete it so that I could get back.
Now, I'm a minister myself, and so it's not a big leap for me to believe and to be touched by your story. What do you say to people who do not have religious or spiritual experience or faith? What do you say to them?
Well, Will, I receive thousands of letters from my readers, and many of these readers never had a belief in God or any religious belief at all. They never felt that they had purpose in life, and they are absolutely in wonderment, I guess you might call it, after reading the book, because your spirit always knows the truth. It is always tapped in to some degree to this pure knowledge that I mentioned in the book. And so when you hear a truth, it just sends a chill through you, or a warmth. But you always know when you hear truth. And so this is what these people are saying. I've touched into a truth, and so I know that I could now go out and find out who God is.
What about the traditional religions that are very conservative? They have criticized your book. What have people said about your book, the religious people said about your book?
Well, that's interesting, because some people will say, well, I've had people come up to me and say, well, Betty, I'm a Christian, and by dang, your book is no good, and da-da-da-da, you know.
They've said that, by dang, your book is no good?
Well, they said, you know, I'm not going to say it.
They even less appropriate language than that.
Well, you know, I know those other words, too. I'm just not going to use them.
Just not used to hear them. Yeah. I'm a Christian, by gum, or whatever.
Yeah. And so basically what I've said to them is, you know, if you have to approach someone and say, I'm a Christian, or, for instance, if you have to have a tag that says mean dog, then obviously you're not what you think you are.
So according to your comment then, when I said, as a minister myself, you're basically accusing me of not really feeling like a minister, is basically what that is. I'm teasing. Betty, you did not start out to be an author. I mean, this was a chronicle of this experience. Here you are now, lived, I wouldn't want to say an ordinary life, but an anonymous life. What is it like now? You're a best-selling author. Life has changed. What's it like for you now?
Well, it's really strange, because no, I did not start out to be a best-selling author, nor had I written anything but a few short poems before I wrote the book. And when my publishing company called me and said, Betty, hooray, hooray, you are on the New York Times best-selling list, and they were very up, and I said, good, good, good. And then I said, what's that? You know, I didn't know. I didn't know what a best-selling list is. I knew that the book was going to be tremendously successful because I was simply told that the book was going to cover the world, literally, and it is.
It's being translated into other languages?
Yeah, 21 languages.
What's it like? You've gotten rich. What about the money? Has that changed you?
Everyone asks me about the money. They have a great curiosity for the money that I earn, and it's interesting because God's given everyone gifts. There's no one here in this room or anywhere else, that even you, that He hasn't given you a gift to use. And you use your gift to make money, as you are right now. And so I'm not going to be the first in line when you get your paycheck to see if you've given that all back to God.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting that I write this book and people want to know what I've done with my money. My gift that God gave me is no greater than the gifts that He gives them. But I will tell you that I have a great interest in the Native Americans. I am one. And I am providing scholarships. I don't say that to brag. I say that because I guess if there are any Native Americans, I encourage them in their education. There are other things that I'm going to do. And so, yes, it's different. You know, someone says, how does it feel to be famous? I don't know. I've never been. I don't think of myself famous. I always thought a famous person was someone that floated down the Riviera and drank those drinks with those little umbrellas on it. And I haven't done that yet, so I guess I'm not famous. I don't know.
Tell us about what it was like when you re-entered. Your re-entry.
That was very difficult because I didn't want to come back. You know, I could sit here and be playful with the experience because I was actually told by Jesus to lighten up. I was too intense of an individual. But when you talk about the reentry, I suddenly feel pangs of I guess, despair that I remembered that I felt back then, because I didn't want to come back to an earth that I felt was not loving. And but I knew that I wanted to please God. And so as I came back to the body and I looked at myself, I knew I had to quickly get back in or I'd change my mind. And so when I crawled back into my body, it was the most devastating thing ever to my spirit. My body felt cold, it felt damp, it was clammy. In the book I said it's like taking coveralls and dredging them through the mud and then having crawled out of a clean shower and then pulling these on. And that's how I felt. It felt dirty and heavy and weighty. But in the body now, I feel restricted and restrained and held back. But I would not ever, and this is why I know Captain Stewart isn't going to do this either, because I'm going to talk him out of it. Mm-hmm. But I would never, and I would talk anyone out of committing suicide to have this kind of an experience, because it might not happen for you.
In the book, you mentioned a ballerina spirit. Tell us about that.
The ballerina was a spirit that I had met while I was in this heavenly place. It was a beautiful female spirit, and years later, this beautiful spirit I knew came into my life as my adopted daughter. And the vision that was, the image that was given me, how I would recognize her, is that she would crawl up on my husband's toe, and with a lift of the back of her other foot, like a ballerina, she would dig into his pocket. And when my adopted daughter was 2 years old, she did just that. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I had indeed made that contact with the spirit that I was bonded to previous to this life.
Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Dr. Wilma is wardrobe furnished by Rick Halleck, Sherman Oaks, California.